Hello everyone and welcome to another I Pick My Butt video. More Survivor.io and a new weapon has come out, so that means everything we know about the game so far has been thrown in the trash and we gotta make new videos out there. So today we're giving you the weapon tier list once again with the newly added weapon. Now I just want to say that this overall tier list is the combination of both versus waves and bosses, so where one weapon might be better at a wave and the other one might be a bosses, this is just an overall comparison of how it's going to do inside the game altogether. And I do want to clarify that this is my tier list. This is no help from anybody else. This is my own personal opinion of what I found from beating all 50 chapters. The new 5, haven't even touched them yet, but we'll get to that eventually. Now, I do want to say, this is probably going to offend some of you because it always offends somebody. Talking weapons is like talking religion and politics. You can't make everybody happy, but you don't have to agree with me. And if you find a weapon that works for you and it's doing great, even if I rank it low, continue using that weapon. It's all you, you do you. So the first weapon we have is the Katana, and this weapon takes a lot of hate inside of the game. A lot of players don't like it, but there's still a lot of players that do like it. But there's two reasons why it's hated. Number one is Survivor.io made a video ad where they said that the Katana was the worst weapon, which I imagine was a joke or just making the ad, and that causes people just to believe, hey, if the dev said it, then it probably is the worst weapon. The other reason is if you started off this game right when it came out, the Katana was glitched. It would only attack left and right, which made it pretty much impossible for an up and down board like this, but because of that kind of just stuck with a lot of people that made them hate it. Now this weapon is pretty decent at killing waves, but when it comes to bosses and elites, you're going to find yourself doing a lot of running and trying to hit with that backslash on it. But the big thing that people love about this weapon is the lifesteal when you get it to evil. If you are good at running and not getting hit, it is a great way to heal yourself back up. And the other thing, just like all wave weapons, they're going to deflect the bullets too. But for me, this is not my play style. It's not a weapon that I use typically, and I'm just not really a fan of it. So for that reason, I'm going to rank this 6th place out of all the weapons inside the game. And for all the Katana users out there, remember, last video I ranked this thing, I ranked it in last place, so it at least moved up a slot. The next weapon we have for you is the bat, and when I first started off the game, this was my go-to. What I really like about it is it has decent cooldown, it has a nice spread to it, and just like the Katana, it's going to deflect a majority of projectiles coming at you. My favorite part about it though is the sound it makes when you hit the enemies. There's something just so soothing about that cracking noise, and whenever I play, I just almost feel relaxed just whacking these enemies. When it comes against the bosses, it is pretty decent, but it's not the strongest thing, but keep in mind, it is a wave style weapon. Now the modifier for this is going to be the fitness guy, which will give you increased health, which people aren't crazy about, but this makes it great to pair it up with the brick, and when you finally take this thing to Lucille, this thing becomes pretty freaking dangerous. So for that reason, I'm going to rank this a 4th place out of the 7 weapons. The next weapon we have for you is the shotgun, and this one's definitely a strange one in the fact that it starts out as a wave weapon and then switches over to a single target weapon. But the big thing about this is it starts off with a very slow cooldown on it, which makes this one pretty difficult to work with. And where this spread can be very helpful, if enemies do get too close, it can snuff out a majority of the bullets. But when you finally get this thing to evil, it's like a laser beam of bullets that comes out and hits the enemies. But the downfall of this is you never really know when you're going to get this evil on this thing. So if you're lucky, you get it early and you can build all your skills around waves and you're pretty well set off. But if you get it kind of late, like I did, well, then you're forced to kind of go and just build whatever you can to keep the enemies away from you and hope that you can get through the boss. So for that reason, I'm ranking this 7th place out of all the weapons. The next weapon we have for you is the Revolver, and this weapon will give you the highest numbers in game you'll probably ever see. Every time you upgrade to star level, you're going to double the damage to the point where when you finally go and evil it, you're going to get double the bullets. Every time you hit an enemy, you'll have a bullet replenish, which means that if you keep on hitting them, you're going to have a pretty good steady of high damage coming out. But if you miss 5 in a row, then you're going to be stuck with a pretty decent cooldown for the gun. And when I say you're going to double the bullets with the evil, I mean you will get 10, but now you're going to be firing 2 at a time, which really means you're going to be doubling the damage. And if you could build all your skills around waves, when it comes to bosses, you're pretty much going to melt them with no problem. But the downfall is early game, if you don't build around the skills or don't get those skills fast enough, well, damage isn't everything and you're going to be left dead pretty quickly. So for that reason, I'm ranking this 5th place out of the 7 weapons. The next weapon we have is going to be the Kunai, and as you know, I've used this weapon a lot. It's one of my favorites, and I've made a lot of videos about this. Now, as far as the weapon itself, one of the main pluses for it is going to be the auto aim. This allows you to run around and not think about the targets that you're hitting, and more focus on dodging and weaving through the enemies. But even the Kunai, where it is great against bosses, you can struggle on the waves if you're not leveling this thing up fast enough. But when you finally do get this thing to evil, it's like those mobs you were struggling with just now kind of just melt away, and really you just gotta watch out for that elite coming at you. But when it comes to the bosses, it really makes it the easiest thing possible, as your main focus is just to dodge and you can really concentrate on the attacks coming at you. But as I played more of the game and got close to beating it, I found that the later chapters just really wasn't enough for the Kunai, and I had to switch over to the Light Chaser to handle the mobs. So for that reason, I'm ranking this 3rd place out of the weapons. So we've gone through all 5 regular weapons, and now we still have the 2 S grades. We have the Light Chaser and we have the Void Power. And where the Light Chaser's been great to me, it made me complete the game before the update, beat all 50 stages, 50 chapters I should say, and having that backspin on it every 5 attacks, which is going to go in 4 different directions, this thing is great at destroying waves. Not to mention, it's not bad at killing bosses either. Obviously it's no Kunai, but it does hold its own, it just takes a little bit longer. And not to mention, when you do get an Evo, having that second wave behind it really does make a difference. But the Void Power is on its own level with the mechanics it has behind it. Having those black holes just suck enemies into it and you don't have to worry about it. Having bosses and elites get sucked into it where it kind of holds them in place. Not to mention that when you do have them sucked through, you can run through it and not get hit. And especially when we get this thing to Evo and having the shields that are now going to deflect enemies and protect you, this thing is insane. I just wish I had it at a higher rarity so I could use it more, but when it comes down to it, comparing these at all the same level and same rarity, I'm going to throw the Void Power as number 1 and the Light Chaser at number 2. I'm going to continue to use the Light Chaser though until I get this Void Power at least at the same rarity, and then I'll be switching over to that. But in the meantime, Light Chaser it is, but the Void Power just seems so much stronger to me. So this is my tier list for you guys. Like I said, this is me personally. This is not anybody else. I'd really love to know what you guys would switch around and why you'd switch them. Post it down in the comments so we could all see. Join the Discord if you haven't already. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and remember, I pick my butt.